How do you think about the competitive landscape, and what has it been like to be at 8 Sleep during that shift?
That's one of the things that when you build your own category, you may find yourself with few competitors initially, but eventually things will catch up. And if you're building a category, you want people to come into it. So it's actually something you care about. You want it to be for it to become a thing. And so then there are more companies that want to build in that space. So we're certainly excited to see that there is a shift. And that shift comes from not just that there's more businesses building in it, but there's more companies approaching it from different perspectives.
Hmm.
So not everyone may be talking about sleep fitness, but certainly this idea that you can use data and you can use technology to help people sleep better. So that's really cool because you're right. Back in 2014, 2015, when we started, there wasn't really much of it. At the time, I remember when Mateo started looking into the space before we started the company, there was like Jawbone, it
Yeah.
was Fitbit. They started doing sleep tracking with their wearables, but this seems like prehistoric times now. So it was very, very different. I do think companies like Casper did an amazing job at building interest in the sleep category. And that's what I really appreciate, especially as a marketer, to see that there was the power of the brand being put into a space that honestly was asleep until then. Like it
Mhm.
was very old school, it was very traditional, it was mainly going through third-party retailers, and no one was making it exciting to talk about sleep in a fun way. And he did a tremendous job at that. And I think that paved the way for brands like Eat Sleep, even though we have a very different perspective on sleep. For us, sleep is not just, real relaxation and coziness and like sleep as much as you want, but it's really about performance. It's about innovation. It's about harnessing the power of sleep to achieve what you want to achieve during the day. So our positioning may be different, but we benefit from what they built in those early years. And now, as you mentioned, it's a bit of a shift. Like I think people may not be so proudly speaking about adopting these sort of more affordable online mattresses that have nothing but comfort because there's been more of that adoption of I'm going to invest in my health.
Mhm.
That is what has shifted too.
Yeah.
And I think the generation that adopted some of these bed in a box companies, we were in a different moment in our careers and our lives when we did so back in the day. But now maybe your income, has increased, you're starting to have kids and you think differently. You want to prevent health issues, you want to invest in yourself. And that has become more of a priority for that generation. And I think that's why the consumer habits are shifting and benefiting companies like Gate Sleep and many others.
Yeah. And you talked about obviously when you create a category that you want people to get into it. It's interesting. Just think, as I started kind of preparing for this interview, just reflecting on the fact also now that it feels like everyone's largely moved towards 8 Sleep. It's like the generic mattress companies are now advertising things like cooling sheets or a cooling mattress or a cooling pillow. You have, major players like Sleep Numbers, who I can't help but think is, very inspired by what you're doing at 8 Sleep. So I guess one question with that is, do you guys focus at all on competition? And if so, how do you talk about that internally? How do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, we obviously see what the world's building around sleep, right? We have to. That's our job to stay aware of what people are building. But we have something very clear, which is if we can use technology to help people sleep better, we win. So
Sure.
that's what we need to focus on. Just build the best products possible. And it takes time. So we're also very aware that there's no shortcut. A lot of the products you mentioned are shortcuts and they don't work. Cooling sheets, they don't work. Like they will be cooler, they will feel cooler, but we would never at Eight Sleep tell you that that's the only thing you should use if you want to feel cooler because we know it doesn't work. It
Yeah.
doesn't deliver what you're actually thinking when you think about sleeping in a cool space.
Hmm.
That's what we focus on. It's like real results. When we look at the landscape, when we started working in Eight Sleep, one of the things that we noticed and we got frustrated with was exactly the fact that none of these companies makes it their mission to help people sleep better.
Hmm.
They're selling you products. They don't care how well you sleep. For us, it's really personal. I mean, we will be there on Twitter answering to you, and we are, and we will always be because we care about how you are sleeping.
Hmm.
That is how we measure our success as a company. It's in our ability to help people sleep better. It's not just how many pods are we selling,
Yeah.
and that is what I think could differentiate us in the long run because we're really obsessed by solving the problem. And hopefully, the consumers and people who are out there making their purchasing decisions will notice that and will gravitate towards companies that are actually delivering on their promise.